CUDA by Nancy Sidmore, and that's a long story. This is a production by Lynn and Dave. This looks like his CUDA, and also we had a viewer who saw a short something, or I can't remember, I believe it was a short where Dave was talking about his CUDA, and it reminded me that a couple of years ago Dave started working with ChatGPT a little bit, trying to get some of his thoughts down, and a lot of stories kind of based on true stories. So this will feel like a hodgepodge mashup of memories as well as artificial intelligence enhancing the story and helping Dave keep it somewhat clear. So this is going to be, well, I guess you would almost even call it a rough draft, but it may be as clean as it's ever going to get. And especially since we've got folks who are interested in Dave's memories and stories and short stories, it also gives you an idea of how the Parkinson's mind can work, and there can be differences in every patient that has Parkinson's. But this is the way Dave's mind works, and he uses AI to help him think and analyze sometimes, and this was in the early stages. He uses it all the time now, so this was just trying to get some of his thoughts down, and I'm going to read the best I can, and where it flows, and where it doesn't, doing our best, and he really appreciates you guys listening to this story. Chapter 1, Fields of Gold, A Summer in the Corn. And I made a few notes where I thought there were some duplicates, and it just got really confusing. So, and again, I mean, caregiving and Parkinson's is, and then the REM SVD at night is just taking up all of life. So we don't have a ton of time to edit, and just hope you enjoy whatever you can from this. Dave told AI, write 2,500 words in first-person narrative with a lot of dialogue describing a summer spent detasseling corn in the scorching summer heat with the following. Chapter 1, The Cornfield Job. I was 14 years old, and the idea of earning money excited me. It was summer, and I showed up to a vacant city parking lot where a scrappy white van pulled up along with a half-dozen late-arrival teens in T-shirts and shorts. Unsure this is a good idea, and wife fate picked them. Boss man filled a barrel full with ice-cold water, surveyed this motley crew, and paused, looking down disappointed and shaking his head, said, load 'em up. Suddenly the ground began to shake in ear-shattering thunder, because everybody to stop and look up the road as a bright red barracuda slowly cruised by with his bright Krager mags, and someone engines roaring by. All I could do was stare. Okay, so that's what he asked ChatGPT, who started Chapter 1, The Cornfield Job. I was 14 years old, filled with the anticipation of earning my own money for the first time. It was the peak of summer, and as I arrived at the vacant city parking lot, I was greeted by a scrappy white van and a group of late-arriving teenagers. We stood there in our T-shirts and shorts, a mixture of excitement and uncertainty coursing through us. Why had fate chosen us for this particular job? A man whom I assumed was our boss stepped out of the van. He had a weathered face and a no-nonsense demeanor. Filling a barrel with ice-cold water, he surveyed our motley crew and paused, shaking his head in disappointment. Load 'em up, he commanded. As we piled into the van, I couldn't help but feel a sense of camaraderie with my fellow detasselers. We were all in this together, unsure of what lay ahead, but ready to tackle the challenge. The van rumbled to life, and we set off on a journey that would test our endurance and resilience. Suddenly the ground beneath us began to shake, and a thunderous roar filled the air. We instinctively stopped and turned our attention towards the road. There, cruising by in a bright red barracuda with its gleaming Krager mags, was a figure that demanded our attention. The sound of the powerful engine reverberated through the air, capturing our awe and leaving us mesmerized. Who is that? I heard one of the tasselers whisper in awe. That's Jake, another replied, his voice tinged with admiration. He's the local legend around these parts. As the barracuda disappeared in the distance, our boss cleared his throat, snapping us back to reality. All right, enough gawking. We've got work to do, he grumbled, ushering us back into the van. With a mixture of excitement and trepidation, we arrived at the vast cornfields. The scorching summer heat beat down on us, intensifying our nerves. We were about to embark on a journey through these towering cornstalks with the task of detasseling each plant to ensure proper pollination. All right, listen up, our boss called out, gathering our attention. This is hard work and it's going to be hot, but you'll get paid for every row you complete, so keep that in mind. We nodded, absorbing his words. The challenge that lay ahead was daunting, but the prospect of earning our own money pushed us forward. As we ventured into the corn maze, the sun beat down on us relentlessly. Sweat began to trickle down my forehead, and I wiped it away with the back of my hand. The task of detasseling was both physically demanding and monotonous. Each plant required careful attention as we reached in, plucking the tassels one by one. In the midst of our work, we engaged in sporadic conversation, trying to distract ourselves from the oppressive heat. The dialogue was filled with laughter and shared anecdotes, a way to forge connections amidst the challenging labor. "Hey, did you guys hear about Jake and his barracuda?" someone asked, breaking the silence. "Yeah, that car is a beast," another replied. "Rumor has it he rebuilt it himself." We traded stories and speculations about Jake, finding solace in these brief distractions from the demanding task at hand. His presence in our minds became a symbol of something greater, a reminder that even in the midst of grueling work there was a world beyond the cornfields. As the hours stretched on, our bodies grew tired and the heat seemed to intensify. We paused for a brief water break, eagerly reaching for the barrel of ice-cold water our boss had provided. The refreshing liquid brought momentary relief, rejuvenating us for the next row of corn stalks. Occasionally, our boss would stroll through the fields, checking our progress. He offered words of encouragement and occasional instructions, his experience evident in his weathered demeanor. Though he was tough, there was a sense of respect for him among the detasselers. He pushed us to our limits, knowing that the hard work would pay off in more ways than one. As the days turned into weeks, we became more accustomed to the physical demands of detasseling. We fell into a rhythm, our hands moving with practiced precision, plucking the tassels almost instinctively. The monotony of the task allowed our minds to wander, and we found ourselves lost in daydreams of what we would do with the money we earned. "I'm saving up for a new guitar," one of the detasselers shared. "I've been eyeing this vintage beauty at the music store. I'm putting my money towards a summer road trip with my friends," another chimed in. "We've been talking about it for ages." The dreams and aspirations we shared during those sweltering summer days fueled our determination. The cornfields became not just a place of labor, but a backdrop for our hopes and ambitions. As the summer neared its end, our progress became evident. The rows of detasseled corn stretched behind us, a visual representation of our hard work. We had endured the scorching summer heat, the physical exertion, and the monotony, coming out stronger on the other side. On the final day, we stood at the edge of the cornfields, our faces flushed with both exhaustion and accomplishment. We exchanged glances, knowing that we had experienced something unique together. The detasseling job had tested our limits, both physically and mentally, but it had also brought us closer as a group. As we bid farewell to the cornfields, a mixture of relief and nostalgia washed over me. The memories we had created during that scorching summer would forever be etched in my mind. It was a transformative experience, teaching me the value of hard work, perseverance, and the importance of camaraderie. As we climbed back into the scrappy white van, ready to leave the cornfields behind, I couldn't help but look back one last time. Those towering stalks of corn had been witness to our growth, our struggles, and our triumphs. The experience had been challenging, but it had also shaped us into stronger individuals, ready to take on whatever the future held. And as the van pulled away, leaving the cornfields in our rearview mirror, I couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude for the summer I spent detasseling corn. It had been an adventure unlike any other, an unforgettable chapter in my life that would forever remind me of the scorching summer heat, the camaraderie of my fellow detasselers, and the unwavering determination that burned within us all. Write 2,500 words in first-person narrative with a lot of dialogue describing a summer spent detasseling corn in the scorching summer heat. So I think we will get on down toward the CUDA. You can read along. That looks like a third version. No wonder I thought there were duplicates. And this is talking about how hot it was detasseling corn. In our hearts, a symbol of the challenges we had overcome and the memories we would carry with us for a lifetime. Now, here's a fourth version of the cornfields and sweat. Chapter 3, bonds formed. Chapter 4, challenges and triumphs. Chapter 5, discoveries and reflections. Chapter 6, lessons for a lifetime. Epilogue Fields of Gold. As Sarah bid farewell to the cornfields, she carried with her memories that would last a lifetime. The swaying corn stalks, the golden fields, and the laughter shared under the scorching summer sun remained etched in her heart. The experience had shaped her into a resilient and determined young woman, ready to take on whatever life had in store. The cornfields had become a symbol of her personal growth and a reminder of the invaluable lessons she had learned that summer. Okay, this looks like even more about the cornfields, which are prevalent where Dave grew up in Illinois, and the beauty of the cornfields. Okay, so that's what I thought it was. It kind of reminded me of a lot of repetitive and duplication stuff. Okay, this one's Chapter 2, Honda 350 motorcycle, and like I said, it's a hodgepodge, kind of, sort of. It is whatever it is, and it's how the mind was working at that. Dave's mind was working at that moment. My brother, always full of mischief, added fuel to the fire. He informed me about a Honda 350 motorcycle being sold for $300, just $10 more than what I had saved. I've only got $290, I confessed to my brother, feeling a twinge of disappointment. He grinned mischievously. Why don't you ask Mama if you can borrow the extra $10? Then you'll have enough to buy that motorcycle. Chapter 3, Cousin's Betrayal at Dairy Queen. Eager to seize the opportunity, I approached my mother, hopeful for her assistance. However, fate had other plans. Unbeknownst to me, my cousins, who were already driving pickup trucks at the tender age of 14, picked me up for a joyride to the Dairy Queen. Little did I know that this innocent outing would become a pivotal moment. As we indulged in our favorite treats, the time came to pay the bill. My cousins turned to me, eyes wide with anticipation, knowing about the cash I carried. The burden of their expectations weighed heavily upon my shoulders. With a sinking feeling, I realized my dreams of owning that motorcycle were slipping away. My cousins' ravenous appetites had devoured the funds meant for my two-wheeled freedom. "Come on, Jim Bob, don't be stingy," one of them said, nudging me with his elbow. "We're family, right?" "Yeah, Jim Bob, we're family," another echoed, flashing me a toothy smile. "And family helps each other out." I felt trapped. How could I say no to them? They were my cousins, after all. But they were also taking advantage of me. They knew how much I wanted that motorcycle. They knew how hard I had worked to save up for it. I sighed and reluctantly handed over the money. They thanked me profusely and patted me on the back. But I didn't feel any gratitude or warmth from them. I felt betrayed and cheated. Disappointment coursed through my veins, but it also ignited a newfound determination to earn back what I had lost. I vowed to myself that I would not let this setback stop me from pursuing my dream. I would work harder, save more, and find another way to get that motorcycle. Nothing would stand in my way. Chapter 4, The Drive-In and the Broken Dream. Determined to rebound from the Dairy Queen incident, I secured a job as a fast food fry cook at a bustling drive-in restaurant. The aroma of sizzling burgers filled the air as I toiled away behind the counter, flipping patties with a newfound sense of purpose. Saving up diligently, I managed to purchase my first cheap stereo, filling my room with music that drowned out the world's disappointments. Chapter 5, Fast Food Job. Now Jim Bob had made some money and was about to learn a very hard lesson. His first car-buying experience yielded a lemon. All those burgers and fries flipped and toiled over for a few bucks did not prepare him for the disappointment to come. Chapter 6, AMC Javelin First Car. Flushed with pride and a pocket full of hard-earned cash, I set my sights on a new goal, a car. A souped-up AMC Javelin caught my eye, its sleek exterior and roaring engine fueling my imagination. Ignoring my mother's skepticism, I took the leap and became the proud owner of my very own car. Filled with excitement, I hopped into my AMC Javelin and hit the road. But destiny had other plans for my automotive aspirations. Nearly 12 miles from where my journey began, my car shuddered to a halt in a neighboring town. My dream car had betrayed me, reducing my triumph to a heap of broken hopes and dashed expectations. Dejected and uncertain of my next move, I dialed my mother's number, my voice laced with defeat. "Hey, Mom, my car is broken down," I admitted, hoping for a glimmer of sympathy. On the other end of the line, I could sense her disappointment. "You didn't buy that piece of junk car from that parking lot, did you?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. Reluctantly, I confessed, "Yeah, I did." But, to my surprise, my mother's support and love shone through. "Don't worry," she assured me. "I'll take care of it." True to her word, she managed to convince the seller to refund my money, giving me a second chance to pursue my dreams. Chapter 7, The Steakhouse. Undeterred by the setbacks I had faced, I sought solace in my father's wisdom. I approached him, hoping he would be willing to co-sign a loan for a motorcycle. However, my father's gaze held a mixture of concern and reservation. "This kid's going to get killed on a motorcycle," he muttered under his breath. Sensing my father's apprehension, I realized I needed an alternative plan. "Why don't you go get a job at the steak restaurant?" he suggested. "You can make more money and it's safer." Taking his advice to heart, I wasted no time in securing a job at the local steak restaurant. As a busboy, I hustled through the crowded dining area, carrying trays laden with sizzling steaks and tempting sides. The lively atmosphere and the tantalizing aroma of grilled meat enveloped me, and I found solace in the hustle and bustle of the establishment. Chapter 8. Dad co-signs a loan for CUDA. Just as I settled into my new routine, my brother burst into the room, brimming with excitement. "Jim Bob, Dad's going to co-sign a loan for you to get a car," he exclaimed, barely containing his enthusiasm. "He's already picked the car out." Intrigued by my father's choice, I couldn't help but wonder what lay in store for me this time. Little did I know that my dreams were about to take an unexpected turn as a 1970 Barracuda awaited me, ready to drive me into the next chapter of my adventure. Chapter 9. Jim Bob's first car. Jim Bob's first, actually second car, but who is counting? Jim Bob sat in the passenger seat of his dad's car, anticipation and excitement swirling within him as they made their way to the location where his first car awaited him. He couldn't help but fidget, his hands clammy with nervousness. This was a big moment for him, a rite of passage into adulthood. As they arrived at the dealership, Jim Bob's eyes widened with awe at the sight before him. Parked proudly in the center of the lot was a magnificent 1970 Barracuda, gleaming in all its glory. Its sleek design, vibrant red color, which was shining brightly under the sun, and powerful presence took his breath away. The car's style was everything he had dreamed of and more. His dad noticed his reaction, a smile playing on his lips. "Impressive, isn't it?" he said, with a knowing look in his eyes. "That's your car, son." Jim Bob's heart swelled with gratitude and excitement. He felt a sense of pride knowing that his dad had chosen this car for him. "Wow, Dad, it's incredible. Thank you." However, a tinge of concern crept into his mind. He turned to his dad and said, "Thanks for co-signing the loan and everything, Dad, but why this car? I mean, it's amazing, but I worry about gas mileage, insurance costs, and maintenance." His dad looked at him with a mixture of nostalgia and longing in his eyes. "I wanted you to have something special, something that I never had the chance to own when I was young," he explained. "The Barracuda was always my dream car. I hope you'll take good care of it, enjoy it, and make memories that will last a lifetime." Jim Bob was moved by his dad's words, understanding the significance behind the choice. He nodded, feeling a renewed sense of appreciation for the gift before him, his voice filled with determination. "I promise, Dad. I'll take good care of it. Thank you." Chapter 10. The Joy and Challenges of Ownership. Instructions. Right novel. My younger brother just had got himself a mini bike and said, "Hey, Jim Bob, you want to take the mini bike out for a ride?" I said, "Sure." I jumped on the mini bike and gave it full throttle. Across the yard, up over a ditch and towards the road that, looking instinctively, turned to the right, hard right, when noticing that a car going 60 miles an hour on the road right, singing by me so close to death. My cousins had bought himself a motorcycle and I went out to visit, and my cousin said, "Hey, you wanted to go out for a ride?" I said, "Sure." I jumped on it, zinging down the road, put your mouth an hour, when I noticed, I don't know how many miles per hour, when I noticed that the brakes had been disconnected. When I hit the T intersection, I had to lay the motorcycle on the side. It spun out into a cornfield. I was fine, but it was crazy and a close call. Later, I was hitchhiking home, and a guy on a motorcycle picked me up. He drove onto the toll road. I know. I tapped him on his back and said, "Hey, this is near where I live." He pulled off the side of the toll road. I jumped off. "Go run across the highway home." The car, "Do you want something most?" Zipped past me. One more step, that would have been dead. Look before you leap. Later, I was going down the road on a motorcycle. The pedestrian that was right on the back of my mother said, speaking to me. She was screaming and crying, and I was asking her what's going wrong. I looked up, and there was a bus doing 10 miles an hour, and here I was doing 70. I zipped past it like a fire jet, flying past a stationary tank. So that was Dave giving AI some material to work with. This is the epilogue from AI. Lessons learned. Close calls and wild rides had taught me the value of caution, foresight, and the fragility of life. Each near miss left an indelible mark on my psyche, a constant reminder to cherish every moment and make responsible choices. I had danced on the edge of danger, brushing against the line between life and death. From that day forward, I became a more cautious rider, always double-checking my surroundings and ensuring the safety of both myself and those around me. I had learned to appreciate the exhilaration of speed and the freedom of the open road, but with newfound respect and a deeper understanding of the risks involved. My close calls had become stories to share, cautionary tales to remind others of the importance of staying vigilant. Whether it was the mini-bike escapade, the brakeless motorcycle, the highway hitchhike, or the bus encounter, each chapter in my life served as a reminder to look before I leaped, and to never underestimate the unexpected twists and turns that fate could throw my way. In the end, these close calls shaped me into a wiser and more responsible individual. They ignited a fire within me to advocate for safety and spread awareness about the perils of reckless behavior. I had walked the tightrope of fate, and though I had stumbled, I had emerged, with valuable lessons etched into my very being. Life is a journey, and mine had been filled with heart-pounding moments and near misses. With a newfound appreciation for life's fragility, I vowed to savor every breath, always remembering the importance of caution, responsibility, and looking before leaping into the unknown. So that looks like several versions. That's what he likes to do a lot. Dave likes to get AI to give him some feedback and then, okay, give me some different feedback and try it one more time. Chapter 11, Freedom, Power, and Fulfillment. With the keys to his Barracuda in hand, Jim Bob felt an overwhelming sense of pride as he drove his newfound treasure home. He could not wipe the smile off his face. The rumble of the engine and the wind rushing through the open windows made him feel alive. This car represented freedom, power, and the fulfillment of a lifelong dream. Chapter 12, Arriving at his home. Arriving at his house, Jim Bob couldn't contain his excitement. "Guess what, guys?" he shouted as he burst through the front door. "I got it! The Barracuda is mine!" He showed off his new possession to his family, beginning with his brother, who gazed at the car with envy. His mom's eyes widened with surprise, and she gave him an encouraging smile and a tight hug. "Oh, Jim Bob, that's wonderful. Your dad told us about it. We're so proud of you." His cousin eagerly snapped pictures, capturing the moment for posterity. Chapter 13, Drive to Work. The next day, Jim Bob drove his Barracuda to work and parked out front, where he knew the car was sure to get attention, and it did. The sleek lines and powerful presence of his CUDA were undeniable. His boss and colleagues gathered around in admiration. "Jim Bob, this is amazing," his boss exclaimed, shaking his hand. "You've got quite the ride there." Jim Bob couldn't help but beam with pride. "Thanks, it's a 1970 Barracuda. She's a beauty, isn't she?" He basked in the attention, answering questions about the car's horsepower, speed, and its history. The admiration he received only fueled his love for the machine even further. Chapter 14, Unleash the Beast. Eager to unleash the beast, Jim Bob took his Barracuda for a spin on the highway. The open road stretched before him, and as he pressed down on the accelerator, he felt a symphony of speed and an adrenaline rush like never before. The car responded with precision and power, propelling him forward with breathtaking speed. As the days went by, he relished the thrill of driving his dream car. Chapter 15, Tickets. However, owning a muscle car came with its fair share of challenges. Jim Bob soon found himself on the receiving end of speeding tickets, a consequence of the car's allure and his newfound taste for speed. The gas prices took a toll on his wallet as the Barracuda's thirst for fuel was unquenchable. Chapter 16, Mechanical Problems. Mechanical problems also reared their head, making matters worse and reminding Jim Bob of the importance of proper maintenance. It was during these troubled times that he met a skilled mechanic who became his trusted advisor. This expert not only helped him fix the car, but also provided him valuable tips on how to keep it in prime condition. Jim Bob learned about regular oil changes, tire rotations, and the significance of preventive maintenance, including checking the belts and hoses. The expert shared his wisdom, which ensured that Jim Bob would be better equipped to handle future maintenance. The burly mechanic with oil-stained hands was a no-nonsense type, but he quickly tamped down Jim Bob's desperate frustration with his gruff but friendly voice. The mechanic patted Jim Bob on the back and chuckled. "Ah, classic muscle cars, they can be a handful." With his Barracuda running smoothly again, Jim Bob thanked the mechanic profusely, grateful for his expertise. Little did he know that this encounter would mark the beginning of a lasting friendship and a trusted source for all his car troubles. But the Barracuda had another surprise in store for him. Chapter 17, Unexpected Encounters. A Date. Amidst the challenges, Jim Bob's Barracuda became a catalyst for unexpected encounters. One evening, while he was parked at a local diner, a girl walked up to him, her eyes sparkling with admiration for the car. She struck up a conversation. "Nice ride you got there," she said, with a playful smile on her face. "Mind if I take a closer look?" Jim Bob grinned, proud of his prized possession. "Not at all. She's a 1970 Barracuda. They don't make 'em like this anymore." They chatted for hours and discovered a shared love for classic cars and the open road. As the sun shone its final rays and dipped below the horizon, she surprised him with a question that he never expected. Impressed by Jim Bob's passion and his well-maintained Barracuda, she asked him out on a date. "You know, Jim Bob, I've always wanted to go for a ride in a muscle car like this. How about we go on a date? And maybe, just maybe, you could take me for a spin in that beast of yours." Jim Bob's heart raced, and he soon recovered from the surprise. He gladly accepted. He couldn't help it. With that invitation, his barracuda had not only brought him joy and challenges, but also the promise of new adventures and a chance at love. Chapter 18, Jim Bob's Journey Summary. Jim Bob's journey with his 1970 Barracuda was more than just a car ownership experience. It was a coming-of-age tale filled with triumphs and lessons. He realized that the allure of the muscle car lifestyle came with its fair share of challenges and responsibilities. Through it all, he grew as a car enthusiast, a responsible owner, and even found new connections along the way. Chapter 19, Into the Sunset. As he drove into the sunset, feeling the rumble of the engine beneath him, Jim Bob knew that his Barracuda would continue to be a symbol of his dreams and aspirations. He couldn't help but feel gratitude. With each passing mile, he embraced the thrill of the open road, cherishing the memories he created and the bond he shared with his beloved muscle car, which had become a symbol of his dreams, hopes, and the journey ahead. He was ready to embrace it all. Chapter 20, Drawing Airplanes. Ever since I was in 6th grade, I had a passion for drawing airplanes. I loved reading books about the brave American pilots who fought against the Nazis in World War II, flying the magnificent P-51 Mustangs and P-47s. I was fascinated by the art of dogfighting, the skill of maneuvering and shooting in the air. I would spend my math classes sketching more and more aircraft, dreaming of flying fighter planes myself. Warfare was my interest, but more than that, I yearned for the freedom of flying, to soar up to 30,000 feet and go wherever I wanted, however I wanted. So when I got the CUDA, it was like a dream come true. A vehicle that could take me anywhere at extremely high speeds, almost like a fighter aircraft. Chapter 21, Freedom on Wheels. Chapter 22, The Car and the Fighter Planes. The moment I sat behind the wheel of my Barracuda, I felt a surge of adrenaline, as if I were about to take flight. The powerful engine roared to life, and I couldn't help but draw a parallel between the car and the fighter planes I admired so much. The sleek lines, the raw power, and the potential for speed, it was a dream realized. Chapter 23, Feeling of Being in Control. As I drove down the open road, the wind rushing through my hair, I couldn't shake off the feeling of being in control, just like a skilled pilot soaring through the skies. The CUDA responded to my touch, maneuvering with precision and grace. It was a symphony of speed and control, reminiscent of the dogfights I had read about in those World War II books. Chapter 24, Transport to New Heights. While others saw a classic muscle car, I saw a machine that could transport me to new heights. It was my ticket to unlimited freedom, a vessel that could take me on exhilarating journeys, both physically and mentally. With each passing mile, I left behind the worries and constraints of the world, diving into a realm of possibilities. Chapter 25, Rush of Adrenaline. On lonely highways, I would push the Barracuda to its limits, feeling the surge of power as I accelerated. The sensation of speed, the rush of adrenaline coursing through my veins, it was akin to the exhilaration of breaking the sound barrier. In those moments, I was the pilot of my own destiny, charting a course towards my dreams. Chapter 26, Fighter Pilot Spirit. But it wasn't just the thrill of speed that captivated me. The Barracuda became a canvas for my imagination, just like the pencil sketches I had filled my notebooks with. I personalized the car, adding unique decals and insignias, turning it into a flying ace in its own right. It became a reflection of my passions, an embodiment of the fighter pilot spirit that resided within me. Chapter 27, Love for Aviation. As I drove through city streets, heads turned and eyes widened in admiration. People saw a car, but I saw a fighter plane on wheels, ready to take flight at a moment's notice. The CUDA became a conversation starter, allowing me to share my love for aviation and the freedom of the open sky. Chapter 28, Fueled Dreams. But it wasn't just about the external validation. The Barracuda fueled my dreams and aspirations. It reminded me that with determination and hard work, I could achieve anything I set my mind to. Just like those pilots who defied gravity and fought for their beliefs, I too felt empowered to soar to new heights, both in my personal life and in my pursuit of knowledge. Chapter 29, Sanctuary. With each journey, I felt the weight of the world lift off my shoulders. The CUDA became my sanctuary, a place where I could escape the ordinary and embrace the extraordinary. It provided a much-needed respite from the constraints of daily life, a moment to dream, to imagine, and to truly feel alive. Chapter 30, The Heights. As the engine hummed beneath me and the road stretched out ahead, I couldn't help but feel grateful for this extraordinary machine. The Barracuda was more than just a car. It was a symbol of my passion, my dreams, and the unwavering desire for freedom. And with every mile I traveled, it propelled me closer to the heights I had always longed to reach. Chapter 31, Milestones for the CUDA, the last milestone. The CUDA had become a collection of milestones, each etching a unique mark in my memory. Some were exhilarating, while others brought frustration and disappointment, but they all contributed to the story of my beloved Barracuda. Chapter 32, End of the CUDA. The last milestone for the CUDA was when I wrecked the CUDA because of my brakes. I believed at the time, and I still believe today, that somebody sabotaged my brakes. They could have crawled under the car, loosened up the brake valve line, and let the brake fluid out, sabotaging my car. Anyway, that fateful evening when I got off work after working all night long at tinning wire in the factory, I climbed into my car, oblivious to the danger that lay ahead. I started driving down a rainy, wet, slick 4-lane highway. When I went to apply the brakes because there was a red light ahead, there were no brakes. The brake pedal went straight to the floor. I pulled the emergency brake, and the car started spinning around out of control like it was on ice. There was no way I could stop the car. Helpless, I slid through the intersection and hit another car. That was the end of my cherished CUDA. Chapter 33, Ablaze. I was working on the carburetor. I was trying to find out where there was an air leak, a vacuum leak. So I was crawling under the hood and over the engine looking for the leak while my motor was running. The fuel line broke off, spraying me with gasoline, and the ignition system of the car got sprayed also before it conked out, which all happened at the same time and set me ablaze. I was on fire, engulfed in flames, and a fireball was shooting up into the sky when I crawled out from under the car. My stepdad stood there and looked at me, and I looked at him. Then instinctively I went for the tall grass that hadn't been mowed and started rolling, putting myself out. Then I ran in and got a bucket of water, ran back out, and put the rest of the fire out. It was a terrifying moment that left a lasting, impactful impression, reminding me of the risks that came with my passion for the CUDA. Chapter 34, How to Drive. Another milestone for the CUDA was when a so-called friend, Don, who of course tried to pretend he was a friend, tried to talk me into letting him drive my car. He said, and he acted like he knew how to drive the car better than I, and he was telling me how to drive it. So, good. Well, we're doing 70 miles an hour down the freeway when he said, "You have a slot shifter here," and he went and slapped the shifter into reverse. The sudden jolt and screech of the transmission sent shock waves through me. Luckily, it didn't tear up the transmission. We stopped. I said, "I'm floored that you would do such a stupid thing." As hard as it was for me to believe that he had done such a stupid maneuver, I also knew that I was stupid enough to let him try to drive my car once again. Chapter 35, Destroyed the Transmission. And once again, it's hard to believe he did the exact same thing. He slapped the car in reverse while driving 70 miles an hour down the road. This time he destroyed the transmission. It was then that I decided to swap the automatic transmission for a 4-speed manual, a process that would bring forth another milestone in my CUDA journey. Chapter 36, Changing transmission from automatic to 4-speed manual. And this began the next milestone of changing the transmission from an automatic to a 4-speed manual transmission. Chapter 37, Don took engine apart. Another milestone was when my so-called friend Don took my engine apart to put a crane cam in his garage. He had my car all tore apart, and then he started trying to act like he wasn't going to put the car back together again. The car finally did get put back together again, and unfortunately, it caused me a lot of grief and was a sad moment in my life. Don seemed to be a recurring theme of misfortune. I was left with a bitter taste in my mouth, a reminder of a friendship gone sour. Chapter 38, Lost license 3 times. Another milestone was that I lost my license 3 times. The first time was within the first few months of owning my Barracuda, not from going too fast, but from idiotic tickets like improper lane usage and driving to the side of the road because of traffic to avoid a dangerous situation. I fought these tickets in court, but despite my best efforts, my license was ultimately revoked for good. It was a painful reminder of the consequences of youthful mistakes. Chapter 39, What I Learned. What I learned from all this was that you could go to court and fight these tickets, and I did. But unfortunately, I still lost my license 3 times, and the last time was for good. Yet, amidst the trials, there were triumphs that filled my heart with exhilaration. Chapter 40, Driving 100 miles per hour down the road. Another milestone was the time I took my car out after it was all souped up with big wide tires in the back. The CUDA was like a monster that begged you to hit the gas. One time I was driving the car 100 miles per hour down the road, just cruising along like it was nothing. I looked in my rearview mirror, and there was a police car not too far behind me. As quickly as I could, I pulled into my driveway, shut the lights off, and waited for the cop to turn his lights on. But he never did. Chapter 41, Driving the car in the middle of winter. Another milestone was driving the car in the middle of winter when the roads were all iced over, and someone went out on a date with me. I let her drive the car. When we were driving down the road about 60 miles per hour, I said, "You're not going fast enough." I reached my foot over and I hit the gas. She lost control of the car. Chapter 42, Spinning in Circles. The car started spinning in circles as soon as she lost control of the steering wheel. It was still going 60 miles per hour down the road, doing 360s when we flew out into a cornfield. Not too much damage was done, but that ended the date. And it was the last I saw of her. She never made the mistake of going on a date with me again. Chapter 43, Raced a Charger. 150 miles per hour. Maybe I shouldn't mention this story. Another milestone is the time I raced a Charger and topped out the speed at over 150 miles per hour. The Barracuda flew through the air, then it hit an uneven part of the road and skipped across the road like a stone across the lake, nearly destroying the car. But miraculously I managed to ride out the oscillation when the car went airborne. The Charger looked like the engine blew with its black smoke billowing out of the front of the car. Later, the driver told me that his spring on the carburetor had broken and the carburetor went 100% open, so that he was riding the brakes and trying to slow down. It was a victory, a testament to the raw power and resilience of my beloved machine. Chapter 44. Pulled over for doing 70 miles per hour. Thought 55 miles per hour. Another time I got pulled over for doing 70 miles per hour when I thought I was doing 55 miles per hour. Not all milestones were filled with danger or misfortune. There were moments of unintentional ignorance and there were consequences. These experiences served as reminders to be more careful and mindful on the road, to respect the rules that governed my automotive adventures. Chapter 45. Legacy of CUDA grew. Each milestone etched a unique chapter in the story of my CUDA. It was a journey of triumphs and trials, of roaring engines and heart-stopping moments, but through it all my love for the Barracuda remained unwavering. It was a symbol of freedom, power, and a testament to my unwavering determination to pursue my dreams on wheels. And so with each milestone conquered, the legacy of my CUDA grew, becoming an integral part of my life's narrative. Chapter 46. Modifications and more milestones. Barracuda at college. Single exhaust. The Barracuda had a single exhaust. Don, who's taking a college course, offered to put Hooker competition headers exhaust on the car, replacing the factory standard single exhaust manifolds. He claimed it would make the engine more powerful. I guess the theory goes like this. If there's less pressure and the exhaust flows out of the exhaust pipe faster, then there's more room for more air and gas to go into the cylinders, therefore producing more power. Quite a bit more power. On the standard exhaust system, using heavy iron exhaust manifolds attached to the engine, and their job is to heat the gases up so there's less pollution coming out of the exhaust pipe. One curious fact is that some thieves used to steal catalytic converters from newer vehicles and sell them for the valuable metals they contained. Catalytic converters use rare materials to reduce harmful emissions from engines. After Don replaced the exhaust manifold, teleconverter, and single exhaust pipe with the headers, the engine changed. It got louder, it got meaner. It's like a beast who's awoken. The engine was hungry, very hungry. Don said, "Here, okay, what you need to do next is put a bigger carburetor on it. The more air and fuel you can dump down the engine, the faster it will go." And that's all I cared about, is making it go faster. Giving the engine more and more fuel so the CUDA could go faster and faster. So I started taking college courses and wanted to learn how could I hook the beast up to a diagnostic machine. 2 automobile instructors walked by me one day while I was trying to figure out to fine-tune the engine. My instructors asked me, "Hey, why don't you hook it up to the diagnostic emission controls machine and see how much pollution the CUDA is putting out?" I looked at them puzzled and I said, "Why would I want to do something like that? I don't really care how much pollution it is putting out. What difference does it make?" The instructors tried to get me to think. They said, "Well, if you don't care and everybody else doesn't care, then what's going to happen to the planet? You only get one planet. You should care." I didn't care. I only cared about making the engine more powerful, dumping more and more air and fuel down the engine's throat, igniting that fuel mixture to where it would then soon be kicking it out of the exhaust. I changed the CUDA's engine from a 2-barrel carburetor to 4-barrel carburetor, installed a crank cam, changed the automatic transmission to 4-speed manual transmission, changed the stock tires to wide L60s tires with beautiful Krager Max rims, and installed a fiberglass hood with special air scoop. Finally replaced a 383 cubic inch engine to a 340 cubic inch engine with a 600 CFM cubic feet per minute carburetor and an Edelbrock intake manifold and Mopar dual point distributor. Chapter 7. Modifications and milestones. So I believe that is when Dave would get ChatGPT to kind of clean up. It's the same that I just read. And then we've got some notes. Almost a bit kind of an outline and a cast of characters. So what else do we have? Let's see if that's the end or if there's some other. The thing was a monster just begging to go screaming down the road. He wrote that a couple of different ways, or he had AI help him write it a couple of different ways. And that's back at college, just repeating what I just read about how he changed it from automatic to 4-speed. He was remembering a movie, Corvette Summer or something like that from the 80s. He said it was a cool movie. Repeating the story about speeding. See if the next 10 pages are the same or if there's anything new. Chapter 47, Canvas for Experimentation. That's the same. Engine got transformed, and then 2 automobile instructors, and they had quite an impact. Only have 1 planet, maximizing performance. Modifications didn't stop. And then chapter 54, Touch of Style. The aesthetics of the Barracuda received their fair share of attention too. I adorned it with Krager Mag's wide tires from the 60s that not only improved traction but also added a touch of style. A fiberglass hood with a specially designed air scoop contributed to the aggressive look and improved airflow. Inside, I upgraded the audio system, rewired the car to ensure optimal performance, and even traded the engine for a 3D3 to 340, offering a new level of power. I don't know if that's supposed to be 3D3 or 303, but it's sure got a D on there. Fuel and air. Throughout the journey, a 600 carburetor and a 4-barrel intake manifold became staples, providing the engine with the fuel and air it craved. The dual-point distributor ensured precision ignition timing, allowing the Barracuda to reach its full potential. The main thing I know about your air filter has a lot to do with the efficiency with your miles per gallon. Something like that I remember being told once upon a time. And how it works with the fuel. Chapter 56, Dedication and Passion. Each milestone was met with a sense of accomplishment as the Barracuda evolved into a true reflection of my desires and ambitions. It wasn't just a car anymore. It was a manifestation of my relentless pursuit of speed, power, and personal expression. The modifications became a testament to my dedication and passion for the Barracuda, solidifying its status as a vehicle that truly represented who I was at my core. Then the epilogue says, worth repeating. Close calls and wild rides had taught me the value of caution, foresight, and the fragility of life. Each near miss left an indelible mark on my psyche, a constant reminder to cherish every moment and make responsible choices. I had danced on the edge of danger, brushing against the line between life and death. From that day forward, I became a more cautious rider, always double-checking my surroundings and ensuring the safety of both myself and those around me. I had learned to appreciate the exhilaration of speed and the freedom of the open road, but with newfound respect and a deeper understanding of the risks involved. My close calls had become stories to share, cautionary tales to remind others of the importance of staying vigilant. Whether it was the mini-bike escapade, the brakeless motorcycle, the highway hitchhike, or the bus encounter, each chapter in my life served as a reminder to look before I leaped and to never underestimate the unexpected twists and turns that fate could throw my way. In the end, these close calls shaped me into a wiser and more responsible individual. They ignited a fire within me to advocate for safety and spread awareness about the perils of reckless behavior. I had walked the tightrope of fate, and though I had stumbled, I had emerged with valuable lessons etched into my very being. Life is a journey, and mine had been filled with heart-pounding moments and near misses. With a newfound appreciation for life's fragility, I vowed to savor every breath, always remembering the importance of caution, responsibility, and looking before leaping into the unknown. And this reminded Dave of a couple of songs, the Beach Boys' 409 and Deep Purple, Highway Star. So that's it. And I can tell you, having his license revoked for permanent, and this is just a picture he found that looked a lot like, especially I guess in the back, like the tires he had. But Well, his dad helped him out with that. He just encouraged him one day, because this is very heavily based on a true story. He encouraged him, hey, go down there and just ask to get your license back. And, Dave was young and the license was gone. They had taken it, but he was able to get it back. And imagine the trouble he would have had if he hadn't been able to. And it was a very simple thing to get it back. But if he hadn't been able to do that, then would he have been able to get into the military later? Or, other things that you need your driver's license for. Okay, so that's it. Hope you enjoyed and have a great day.